Everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of Cotton Connects, the video series that the ICAC has created to keep all stakeholders in the cotton and textile supply chain connected and informed. So when we finally put this coronavirus nightmare behind us, people will be ready to get back to work again as soon as humanly possible. So today our guest is Bruce Atherley. He was the Executive Director of Cotton Council International. Thanks for joining us today, Bruce.
Thanks, Mike.
To be here. Okay, Bruce, you and I have known each other for a few years, but for those people out there who aren't intimately familiar with Cotton Council International, can you tell us a little bit about the organization and exactly what it is you guys do?
Sure, Mike. It's a very common question for us because there's a lot of confusion between Cotton Council International, or CCI, and Cotton Incorporated, which is CI. Cotton Incorporated is a sister organization. They are responsible for the promotion of cotton through promotion and research, whereas CCI, my organization, is responsible for the promotion of U.S. cotton. You can think of us as we're the export promotion arm of the National Cotton Council, really the marketing agency for U.S. cotton, representing 7 segments of the U.S. cotton industry across the world to help drive exports of U.S. cotton.
Okay, well, obviously, clearly you guys are focused only on U.S. cotton, but kind of in the big picture, can you tell us a little bit about what you're seeing out there as far as where demand is, and maybe, unfortunately, what kind of demand destruction we're looking at from this pandemic?
Obviously, as you labeled it earlier, Mike, a nightmare for the textile industry. You know, demand will be down for global cotton. I've seen estimates ranging from 10% down all the way to 20%. We do expect the sector to rebound, starting really ramping up later this summer into the fall, and hopefully back to a more normal period in 2021. But it's been devastating for the entire supply chain, obviously from brands, retailers, all the way through to growers and everybody in between.
Can you spend just a sec explaining the difference for anyone who might not know what the difference is? Demand goes up and down. Demand destruction is quite the final thing, is it not? Can you explain a little bit about that to make sure people understand the terminology?
Well, sure. This is there are a couple different terms: demand destruction and demand postponement, or demand delay, if you will. So the demand delay is those purchases that can and are postponed until a later point. So, then we might see a bump as people, kind of have pent up demand. Demand destruction, basically, that means we'll never, demand that would have been there is gone away permanently. And we'll definitely have seen some demand destruction in the textile business. The end is there's some good pent-up demand for textiles. And I think in a couple of years, if we're optimistic, and we have to be optimistic at this point, in a couple of years, we'll get back to a kind of more normal period, which might be 120 million bales of cotton consumption globally per year. At least that's my hope.
Yeah, I think we all hope for that. Do you envision the pandemic having any impact on the cotton synthetic market share fight that's been going on for so many years? Price has always been an issue between cotton and synthetics, but with oil prices being, I've never even heard of negative oil prices, but literally a couple of weeks ago, you couldn't give it away. Is that going to exacerbate the price difference, or is price really not a factor when it comes to things like this?
Well, to your point, Mike, synthetics have had a price advantage over cotton for many, many years, and that has clearly affected some of our demand for cotton because of the pricing of synthetics. Having said that, I think what a lot of people have realized during the pandemic is how important sustainability is to the planet, and cotton is the most important natural fiber we have and is much more sustainable, certainly, than synthetics. And so I think going forward, it bodes well for the cotton industry in terms of consumers wanting something that is more sustainable in the long run.
So in other words, it's not always about price. I mean, certainly it's an important factor, but there are some other things that people prefer cotton for that have nothing to do with the price. No matter how cheap oil gets, it's not going to make a synthetic any more comfortable or sustainable than it was before, correct? Okay, glad we understood it. We just had a few minutes. That's all I really had to ask for today, Bruce, but is there anything I should have asked and didn't, or anything you'd like to add that we didn't talk about?
Well, let's put in a plug for World Cotton Day, Mike, which
Yes.
is coming up on October 7th, created by the ICAC as a day to celebrate all things cotton. And again, to reinforce the fact that cotton is the world's most important natural fiber, both from a comfort standpoint, you know, from a warmth standpoint. We use it for home goods, we use it for apparel, but also from a standpoint of growing economies, whether it's developed economies or developing economies in India, Africa, etc. Cotton is a very important crop, and it's served us for thousands of years. And so World Cotton Day on October 7th will be a chance to celebrate all things cotton.
Excellent. I'm glad you brought that up. And to your point, for one, obviously it's as dark and depressing at times it's been for everyone going through this, isolated at home for weeks at a time, months at a time now. It's wonderful to have something positive to look forward to for all of us in the industry, to look forward to World Cotton Day on October 7th. Do you think it might have any other, I mean, could it actually be a boost? Can it bring some visibility back to the cotton and textile industry and actually have maybe a bit of either a market impact or in the consumer's mind?
Certainly, Mike, that will be the objective, is to have World Cotton Day serve as a catalyst for getting consumers back into stores and back buying cotton apparel and home goods to help drive some of that delayed demand that we talked about earlier in the program.
Excellent. Okay, that's really all I had for today, Bruce. I'd love to try this again here in a couple of weeks or a month or two when we have a little bit different situation, and hopefully at that point we'll be talking about how the industry is getting back on its feet and starting to hum again. So thanks again for your time today, and take care, Bruce.
Thanks, Mike. See ya.
Take care.